Christmas is coming up, isn't it? So I suppose should really get in the mood. So welcome back to another episode of amipal. Today we're just going to discuss what this channel is going to do next year. Don't really have much to show you today. So, what are the plans for 2020 on amipal? One big project is to rebuild the 1200T. This is distracting, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. One big project is to rebuild the Amiga 1200 in the tower case, my A1200T. That is a conglomeration of a lot of pieces of technology that were never meant to go into an A1200 in the first place. So it's got a fast ATA IDE interface on the motherboard, it's got a mediator PCI bus board with a Voodoo 3 hanging off it, there's a Blizzard PowerPC in there, there's lots of bits and pieces, and similarly the software that's installed on it has basically been in a constant state of flux, ebb and flow, if you will, over years and years. So I don't think it's properly optimised in terms of the startup sequence. I expect there may be various patches which are clashing in there, and so there are unexplained crashes. I don't think the disks run quite as fast as they should, that sort of thing. So I think just clear it down, get everything apart. Motherboard needs to go for a recap, so that's another one that's going to be winging its way to the guys at Amiga Kit. They do good work, and then when that's back, I can put it all back together. I'm replacing the main hard disk with an SD card solution, so I've actually got a bracket solution coming along that will sit at the back there, so I can easily take the card in and out in a similar way like I do with the SD card on the desktop 1200. So that'll be an easy way for me to sort out the installation on my Mac under emulation, just to get it into a runnable state to begin with. I can then kind of go to my CDs and boxed floppies for things like Directory Opus and various other bits and pieces to install on there. I've also got some new, believe it or not new, parallel ATA hard disks. So I'll have the SD card as my main boot drive for the transfer of files, and then the main hard disk will be for programs and games. There are games that the tower, there are games that the tower can play that the A1200 desktop will struggle with. That's only got a 68030 in it, that's got an 040 in it, and a PowerPC. So there are games that I'll install on there, ray tracing programs that will run much nicer than this machine. Second project, you can't see it here, but there's another tower underneath my desk. That is the Amiga 1 XE-G4. That still hasn't been powered on since I dragged it back out, so I honestly don't know what to expect with that. I think probably the batteries on the for the firmware have probably discharged by now, so that's probably blank, and I don't expect U-boot to be able to bring the system up. So that's something I'm going to struggle with in 2020, I think. And then we can look at the current state of Amiga Next Gen in its current state, I guess. What else? I've got another 2 desktop 1200s. They need to be recapped and sold, so they're going to get sorted out. My Amiga 600 no longer boots for some odd reason, considering that when I first plugged it in at the beginning of this wonderful journey for the amipal channel, it all worked fine, and it was actually the machine which didn't have any issues. So I'm going to have to get myself a diag ROM for the A600. It's got a 16-bit bus, so you can't use the same ROMs as you would with this, because this is 32-bit. So find out what's happened there. That's going to need to be recapped and possibly repaired. That 600 I will then also probably sell, because realistically I want to keep a desktop 1200, the tower 1200 and an A500. So there'll be another A500 on the market too. This is difficult to keep track of, isn't it? I need like a list here or something, don't I? There's also my CD32. That will probably be a project as big as the tower, if I'm honest with you. The CD32 I used to have running through S-Video into a JVC CRT television. It was an absolutely beautiful image. The trouble is, my TV now, all it will accept is SCART. It doesn't even have composite in. And I don't know if that's an output option with the CD32 standalone. So I may look into getting the Terrible Fire riser board for it, so that I can output other things, and hopefully that'll all still be working, because I know CD32s can have an issue with their CD drives if they've been kept in storage for a long time. So fingers crossed on that one. So here we are at the end of the year. I've really enjoyed recording this channel this year. I never intended to actually start a channel. The first episode, if you've watched it, I'll put a link there, was basically me unpacking the Amigas that I had, and I mean half of it doesn't even have any dialogue, which is probably actually a turn off for a lot of people. They might have actually enjoyed it. There's a thought. So yeah, the sole purpose of this channel was to just kind of show you the wonderful world of Amiga. I've been absolutely surprised by just how popular it is now. I was still using the Amiga as my main machine, this machine in fact, back in 2007. Yeah, things were starting to get a bit difficult then in terms of websites and what have you. So I then switched to a Mac for my photography needs, because I couldn't do it basically anything of note on there. It was a bit too slow and it didn't handle raw files. So that's when the Amigas started to become less used. So I've been enthralled by getting the machines out the loft, getting them plugged in, making discoveries of things I'd actually done stuff on the machines back in the day. In terms of the community as a whole, people are very helpful, they're very friendly. I suppose it's the Amiga community of old. It's just we're that much further on. It's wonderful to see, and it's even better to see new hardware and new software still coming out. We've had new games come out this year. There's I think a new 68060 accelerator card on the boards for the 1200, which is very surprising. Just constantly amazed by this. So if you want to chat to other people about the Amiga, there are loads of groups on Facebook. One I'm on is just the Commodore Amiga group. If you need answers to questions, put something on there. You pretty much get something back within 5-10 minutes or the hour. Very, very quick. If you want a bit of a longer conversation, then things like the English Amiga board, you can get into a bit more technical stuff in there. There's lots of stuff on there about coding. Similarly with coding, another Facebook group is the Amiga Blitz group, which I've probably got the title wrong. I'll put the proper one here because I'll look it up. There are just loads of options out there. And similarly on Twitter, you've got loads of people who are still doing incredibly wonderful technical stuff with the Amiga. I've recently viewed an A500 Doom engine. Doom running on the Amiga 500. Not actual Doom, but like a 3D shoot 'em up environment running on a 1 meg Amiga. That is absolutely astounding. And again, I'll provide the link because this is the kind of thing people are still doing with the machine. I think 2020 can only bring on even more amazement and wonder for just this wonderful machine of ours. So, keep playing, keep using the machine, keep exploring it. and keep reaching out to each other, because you know we've all got all this information. I'm sure you can point out things that I've said or done wrong with the videos that I've done over the last few months. And let's have a great 2020. Merry Christmas! What am I doing over Christmas? I think I'll play Christmas Lemmings.